Hello, everybody, and welcome to One Day Today. This is episode 74. I'm really excited about our guest we have today. On Tuesday, we had an amazing performance by Diane. Diane sang this three songs, original songs that were just so moving, and it just kind of reminded me, you know, really what's possible when we are all just sharing our gift, and really, but from the deeper intention of that we all have something to share that enriches us all. And we all have our story and our experience in our life that leads us to discovering that within ourselves. And for my story, it took me most of my life avoiding myself and hiding to really find the courage to share who I am with the world. And it's still scary sometimes, but I've really discovered it's powerful to have a space, to be able to accept people for who they are, to really see the beauty in them and really hold the space for them to experience themselves. And that's really what this space is. This is a space for you to be you and to share the gift and the genius you have with us all. Because, ultimately, just imagine, just what if just your household or just your street, just every person, or even in your city, if what they were doing did what lit them up, which is just lit their heart on fire, just brought their joy and their purpose out for them. And imagine if everybody had that for themselves and for each other. Imagine what we could create together when we actually held that for each other. And we actually saw that when we are loving our neighbor, when our neighbor and their family is healthy and safe, that so are we, and so are our families. And that's ultimately what this vision is. It's us thriving together. We're connected by the things that light us up, and we're contributing to each other by the things that we all have to share. And this is the stuff that excites me. This is why we do this, and this is why I'm so excited every day to just have new people share their gifts, just from all walks of life. And it's a privilege and honor. So I'm really excited to have our two guests with us today. We'll introduce them in a moment, but first, let me say hello to our co-host Matthew. It's not raining yet, I see.
No, I'm still safe for the moment. I've put the intention to hold it off for a little bit. We'll see what happens. Uh, yeah, this space, I really appreciate you being able to come back here and have this that we're sharing with the world. And we were talking backstage before the show, and something that came up. I feel like it might be relevant to everyone who's going to be sharing today. I'd like to go ahead and kind of set the theme now, which is odd for me to do. This is not something I've ever done before, but it feels kind of appropriate right now. So, um, what you were talking about, that question of what can we create, what can we become if we're all, you know, creating from our highest potential, from our highest source, from however you want to put it. And one of the things I've noticed, and this is something that's come up around a conversation around things like universal basic income, like the idea of taking away the need to work, automating this world in a way. People actually start to get freaked out, like the ones that I talk to. And the question that comes is, well, if I don't if I'm not working, then what do I do? What am I? Who am I if I'm not working? The concept of having that much free time seems to terrify some people. And I get the sense that both of our guests today, part of what they are, is a path to discovering what is meaningful to each individual. And then empowering them to become that for themselves. And so I'm really curious to hear how they talk about it, because they both talk about it from two different directions for what it sounds like from backstage. So, um, yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it with that and see what happens.
I think this is as good a time as any to welcome our first guest. We have
I think so.
welcome to the stage, Sharón Lynn Wyeth. Welcome, Sharón.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Abram and Matthew. I was so looking forward to this.
Well, we are so excited to have you. I think we're going to let you jump in if you're ready. Are you ready?
I am so ready.
All right, let's do it. Sharón, the stage is yours.
So have you ever felt like you were the caboose and the last one to catch on to anything? I grew up in a family where I had incredibly intelligent parents. I had 3 sisters out of my 4 that tested into the gifted program. And I always felt like I was the last one to catch on to anything. And that causes you to feel dumb because you're not as quick as they are. It causes you to feel like you can't do anything right because look at how quick and perfect they are. And so it gives you a lot of self-esteem problems. And I used to just hate the world. My sisters always knew what to say to whom and when and how to do relationships. And I was just the odd duckling out. It was like, where did I come from? And so I started reading, and I was 13 when I started reading, and I decided to give myself 1 year to read the entire Bible. And the following year, I read the Bhagavad Gita. And every year, I read an entire huge book from a different religion. And Dad had told me that it was really good to know what the different religions said so that you could, once you found out what somebody's religion was, you would be able to communicate with them. You would know where they're coming from. But he really said, and this is my dad's sense of humor, that if I picked the wrong one, then when I crossed over, whichever one I found out it was, I would already have the tenements of it and I'd be that much further ahead. So I was really doing it, though, to get answers. And as I was reading all of these fabulous books and every other book about spirituality that I could get my hands on, I realized that we're all very unique. We all have our own way of doing things. We all have our own purpose. We don't have to compete with other people. I didn't have to keep comparing myself to my sister's standards and how well they were doing. Instead, I could just be me and I could have my own interests. It took me a while to figure out what those were. And it took me a while to figure out that I was okay with me, especially because I was an introvert where my sisters were extroverts. And at lunch, I got voted in high school the most school spirited out of a class of 680. But what people didn't realize was I took my lunches to stand behind and sell tickets for different things so that I wouldn't have to go out there and keep a conversation going when I didn't know how to communicate well. And so I always limited my interaction time with anybody because, again, if you don't know what you're doing, then you do it as short as possible that you possibly can. And so what I'm here to say is all of us can learn these skills. And nobody today would think I'm introverted. And really, I disguised it so well in high school, most people wouldn't have thought that I was a real introvert. And over the time, I became a school teacher because I realized I was really good at explaining math to people so they could understand it. So the first 3 years, just to let you know where I was coming from, I literally memorized what I was going to say every day so that I would be able to have the courage to go in and conduct that class. It took me until sometime in the 3rd year to realize that they couldn't ask me a math question I couldn't answer. And so I could relax and know that it was okay. I could conduct a good classroom. But again, it lets you know from where I was coming from. And in my 7th year of teaching, I was 26 years old, and I was making the seating chart. And my brain started telling me, don't put Joshua next to Julie because together they're going to be clowns. Keep them separated. Stephanie's going to be stubborn, not ever want her seat changed. Stick her over on the side of the room. Derek's going to need extra help. Put him up close. And it wasn't until I was doing the seating chart for my 4th class that I realized, wait a minute, I don't know these children yet. And so I thought, okay, let me go back and put down my impression of every single one of my students because all I had was their name. And I would look at it in 3 months' time at winter break. When I looked at it, I was astonished at the accuracy because now I had gotten to know my students for who they were. So I thought, okay, my brain has picked up some kind of patterning, and we only had names. And of course, my brain's thoroughly trained on patterns because I majored in math in college and I have my master's degree. And so I decided to try to see how to make what was unconscious that my brain was doing and make it conscious. The end result took me 15 years to figure out all the patterns. Then I went and tested it in over 70 countries to see its accuracy in different languages. And I really thought that if I was really off base, somebody would call me out on it. but nobody did. Instead, they were saying, where's my books? Where can I find out more? And so I've created this system called Namology Science. And it is our trademark company here in the United States that said it was a science. And I had to attach the word science to it because of the methodology that I went about discovering it, finding the patterns, and having it tested in so many different places. So Namology Science is the study of the placement of the letters in your name. And so they can give you your predispositions, your personality traits, your soul's purpose. Why are you here? What did you come to learn? What did you come to experience? And actually the overall purpose, the theme, and the 7 component parts that comprise of that theme. Then your name also gives you how to go about doing that in the easiest way. So for example, let's just say that your name said you have got to get from LA to New York. Well, you could start off walking and it could take you a long time. Or maybe after a while you say, hey, there's a lot of vehicles going by, I could hitchhike. Or maybe if I stopped and earned some money, I could catch a bus. But your name always says how to get on the airplane. What's the easiest way to get to the goal? Your name can also, when you compare it with another person's name, to let you know how that person communicates so that you have really good communication styles and what's important to that person. And you can compare and see where potential problems are and how to make them better so that they're not problems. So let me give you an example. If your first vowel is an A, now that doesn't mean it has to be the first letter in the name like Alicia. It could be the second letter in the name like Sally. It could be the third letter in the name like my name, Sharón. It's just the first vowel that you see. And the first vowel that you see, these people are very, very observant and they always put their work first. You know, it's very important for them to get the work done. And some might call them a workaholic. On the other side, they can be the best couch potatoes out there. And for an example, if your first vowel is an E in your name, aesthetics are important. These are people that bring beauty to the planet. And so they walk by a crooked picture on the wall, they naturally go and they straighten it out because it just looks better that way. They're natural detectives. They get people to tell them things that they don't tell other people. And that's because the first vowel of an E normally gives really good suggestions to other people. Notice I didn't say advice because we do not add vice to anybody's life. We just make suggestions. So each vowel has within it its own communication style. And if you just learn the 6 vowels, then you know how to approach anybody, how to connect with them, how to start a conversation, what words to use that will make it easier for you to have understanding and comprehension with the other person and resonate with them. So anyway, I've done the entire alphabet, and it's really the first letter in the first name is your first impression that you're giving. The last letter in the first name is your lasting impression, or the first thing that people talk about behind your back and what they'll say about you. The first vowel gives us our communication style, how we learn, what style that is, what kind of gifts we like. There's so much packed into that first vowel. And then the other letters is what I call the middle letters. And those are more of the subtle things that as you get to know somebody, you get to discover what those traits are that are represented by the middle letters. Then you have combinations of letters. So let me give you an example. If you're sitting in a classroom by somebody that you like, you may act one way. But if you're sitting next to somebody you don't like, you may act totally different. So let me give you an example. So a C, and I have mnemonic devices for everything, says that you're charming and charismatic to cover your need to be in charge and in control. And so you want to be the one in charge so that you can make sure everything goes well. The H says, I'm going to get in the river and go with the flow. And wherever it takes me, I'm cool. I let go, I let God, I let the universe, and I'm just going to go wherever the river goes. Now, you put a C next to an H, like in Michelle or Cheryl. And you put that, or Michael, you put that CH there. One is saying, hold on and be in charge, the C is, and the H is saying, let go and let God. So can you see how they conflict with each other when they're together? So people that have a CH in their name do things the hard way because they're constantly in inner turmoil in there. So you learn how the letters play together. But the coolest thing is that everyone who has learned how to take this class, who has learned the system, and you can do it from the class or you can read a book, but everyone who's taken my class to learn it that way has written me within 3 to 4 months after completing the class and said, you know, I don't judge anybody anymore. I noticed that we all have our challenges. We all have our gifts. And I know how to talk with everybody. I like extroverts because we know how to greet somebody. We know how to start a conversation. We know what's going to be in their interest file. So it's really a cool technique and something to learn. And I have books out there like knowthename.com is where you can get them for the least expensive. But it's Know the Name, Know the Person, about the personality. Know the Name, Know the Spirit, on what does the soul wish to experience. And Know the Name, Know How to Connect, for everyone who wants to be able to connect with others better. So, Abram and Matthew, I'm ready for your questions. What would you like to know?
Thank you so much, Sharón, for sharing your story. I can relate a lot about what you're saying about being introverted and discovering in myself more extroverted tendencies than I knew, because I used to kind of hide, didn't feel energized around being around a lot of people, but I can totally relate. But what you were saying in the beginning of your story, how you were with your how your dad was like, you were reading all the scriptures, and your dad, how your dad was saying you were so well versed that you'll be prepared on the other side. I love that part of it. But yeah. I think this is like a everybody has some version of that, like their own version of truth in their experience of the world. And how did you, was there a moment in time where, because I can just relate so much, because there was a period where I was searching in books, like reading scripture, theology, religious studies, philosophy, psychology, looking for truth, like it was something you could read in a book. But I just want to know, what is truth after all your searching, and where you are now, and what you've discovered yourself to be? What does truth mean to you now?
Well, as an 18-year-old, I was given a birthday present when I turned 18 from my oldest sister, who had already become a meditator with transcendental meditation. And she gave me that as a gift, and I started meditating. And I think the greatest gift is to be able to connect directly for yourself. And meditation allowed me to do that. And that gave me my ahas. But I will tell you one experience that kind of set me on the path to where I am now. And that is when I was reading the Bible every night. I literally started hearing, after about 6 weeks, a voice over my left shoulder. And the voice would say, well, all of us believe that at that time, so the Bible doesn't go over it really well. And we all accepted this. But you got to know the culture at this time, or they left this part out, or they've retranslated this part incorrectly. And so I got this auditory version at the same time I was reading. And as a 13-year-old, I honestly thought that that's why they told you to read the Bible every night, because then you get the audio edition. I thought that happened for everybody. And so when I started meditating, that voice would come and go. It always came when I read the Bible, but it would come and go at other times. But once I started meditating, it was consistent. I could call on it and I could hear it. And so I think that kind of connection is really important. My sister had told me when she bought me the meditation classes, she said, in the East, after they've meditated for 20 years, they get this connection with God. And I said at the time, well, if it takes 20 years, I best get started. I look back now and I go, why didn't I say, oh my God, that's too long, I don't want to do that. But I didn't. I got started and I meditated, and it took me until I started when I was 18. It took me until I was 36 to get it consistently coming through, so that I always hear it. I can have conversations at any time. And I think it's that connection that has held me through so many hard experiences that otherwise I would say, how does anybody cope with this? I mean, I was just in recently, I have a bionic arm now inside my arm. It looks like it's real, but underneath there's no bone. It's all titanium and whatnot. And as they were telling me in the hospital, write down all the times you've injured yourself or been in the hospital, there were 26 times. Now, I don't get sick because I take good care of myself, but active people get hurt. And so things have gone wrong. And with different things that have happened, I think, how do people get through these type of experiences? Or when somebody hurts you or somebody you love passes away, how do you get through that if you don't have some kind of a connection? And so that's the moment. It really started when I was 13, and reading, as I look back, that's when it really started for me. And then there were peak times, like starting meditation at peak times, like being in an ashram over in India, getting trained by Japu in Thailand, there were different times as I kept seeking that really picked up things and really helped. And honestly, without some kind of a connection, I don't know how anybody makes it.
Yeah, I feel that. And I like, honestly, I don't feel like they do. I feel like that's the getting lost part in this world. The getting lost and the suffering is not having that connection, not remembering that connection even exists, or being able to recognize it.
And
And it's
Matthew,
funny,
that's
like,
exactly what it is. It's not being able to recognize it or not
yeah,
remembering that it exists.
yeah.
That's exactly it.
And as you were talking, there was something that unlocked for me, because initially, my mind was initially like straight to skepticism, which, I do have a very logical, very rational mind. Like, I grew up studying and researching, and I call myself a researcher and a scientist. And it wasn't until after I moved to Hawaii that I started accepting that maybe there is actually something more to all this that science hasn't explained yet. But what kept coming up as you were talking was everything is meaningful if you look for the meaning and you have that connection.
Well, and when I can't see the meaning, because we all don't get it right away. You remember,
Right.
I'm the caboose. And so when I don't get it, I always start asking. I start saying, okay, where's the silver lining in this? Okay, why would I bring this into my life? Help me out, guys. It's like I would like to have some reason or some understanding. But I have always found that you ask a question, the answer eventually comes.
Absolutely. And not only that, but like asking the question, that's it. That's all that has to happen. You don't have to keep looking anymore. Like,
right.
It's there, it's set in motion, and what you are seeking is also seeking you. So it comes. What like, where do you feel like this particular talent of yours came from? Like, this has got to be one of the most unique set of structures that I've come across as far as interpreting this reality.
So
Where do you feel like that, like, I recognize, like, I know you talked about patterns, I know you talked about like the master your mind and like needing to understand anything, but like, what was it about the names that really caught your attention?
well, it was literally doing the seating charts for the kids. And it was like, I only have their names, but a part of me feels like I already know them. So where is that coming from? And then to be able to write down, okay, here's my impression from this name. Here's my impression from this name. And 3 months later, realize that it's accurate. When I think, how many of us make good first impressions? I don't. It's like how many of us feel like we know somebody right away? And yet I felt like I knew them and all I had was their name. And so because of that, I got interested in names and the patterns in names. And like I said, it took me 15 years to figure out all the patterns and 3 years of testing it in over 70 countries. However, the good news is it only takes me 15 hours to teach it to somebody. So that's 2 days. In 2 days, you could know how to do this. And then you would never meet a stranger and you would never feel like you were outcast again or the last one to get something because you have an edge. I always ask everybody, and how do you spell your name? And the minute the person gets through spelling it, I know who I'm talking with.
I wonder if you'd be willing to give us a little bit of a demonstration on either myself or Abram, whoever. I'm open for it. I don't know, Abram, if you are.
I'm open for it as well.
Okay. So you both have first vowels of an A. Okay, so I'm going to start there. And I'm going to say that both of you are very, very observant. You don't miss much. But at the end of the day, you beat yourself up for the 4% that you miss instead of going, woohoo, I got 96% today. Instead, you go, why did I miss that 4%? What do I have to do differently that I don't miss that 4%? Oh, that's awful. I missed that 4%. I've got to do better next time. Okay. All right. So now the first vowel of an A doesn't always say everything that they see, but they don't miss much and they get those intuitive hits. Okay. So then with Abram, your name says that you're an expert in anything you're going to give a lot of time to. you'll become an expert in it. And that you're very good at manifesting that which you want. But you want to be watchful that people will come to take from you what you don't want to give. So this can show up as theft of the physicals. It can show up as stealing your ideas and claiming it's theirs. It can show up as stealing your peace of mind. So you want to be watchful of theft, and that's in your name. Okay, and so Matthew, in your name, it says, and able to stay healthy, you have to stay athletically fit and physical, and that you're only going to do what you want to do, and nobody can make you do what you don't want to do. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Okay, and so it's an all or nothing. It says you have good hand-eye coordination. It says that wherever you put your mind to, you'll eventually end up on top. The only time we're ever going to see you in the middle is when you're climbing the ladder to get to the top. And it's an all or nothing. If you don't think you can do something well, you're not even going to start it. Why waste your time? The other thing that's interesting in your name, Matthew, is it says that you learn by experiences. So you don't like to make the same mistake twice. Okay? You'll make it once and you'll go, okay, I'm learning. But the second time you make it, it's like, okay, why didn't I learn the first time? Why did I have to go through that again? And so you got to watch the self-talk in your name and to realize that most people take 7 or more times to get something, and you're beating yourself up on the second time. And it's okay. All right. But you learn a lot more through experiences. Now, both of you have in your names that you're avid readers. You both have in your names that you're visual learners. So that if you can see something, you can remember it faster than if you hear it. If you see it, it's like it clicks in. And your secondary way is kinesthetic, which is of doing it. Okay. So Matthew, you were taught that family is incredibly important and blood's thicker than water. Okay. So it means that you've always got responsibility towards family. And it's interesting because you have that Abram in a little bit of a different way. It's like you have responsibility toward family, but family is supposed to teach you and is supposed to help you. So therefore, you're always supposed to teach and help back. Okay. Where Matthew, in your name, it says that family gave you your core or your basics of your understanding. So those are very small samples. And I know Jennifer's coming up next. And in her name, it's so different because she has the first vowel of an E. But she has a memory like that is just incredible. And she can verify this when she comes on because you guys know I don't know her. But she has an incredible memory. She's got a rebellious spirit, doesn't want to be told what to do. You've got that Abram in your name too. Don't tell me what to do. Ask, I'm okay, but don't tell me, because then I don't want to do it. Jennifer's got that big time. Jennifer has an awesome memory. She is very, very organized, and she's just brilliant. Her name says she is absolutely brilliant. And that when people ask her a question, it's like she gets a download and it just comes in. And so she gives them an answer. And people go, how did you know that? And her thought is, how did you not know that? Don't you get your downloads? And so anyway, that's in her name for your next guest. And she's got a great sense of humor, and she's a people person. In our names, it says we want to get our work done and then we'll go play. In Jennifer's name, it says we'll connect with everybody else and play a little bit, and then we're going to go get our work done, because we have to know that everybody's okay first.
That actually hit harder than I expected.
Well, and I literally can talk 2 hours on what I see in a name, Matthew. I only gave you like a briefie.
I would be curious to see what you felt about my full name. This is only 2 out of the 4.
Right.
And
all of it gives me more. All of it gives me more information. But like I said, I can talk for 2 hours when I see a name.
Yeah, especially like the bit about if I don't feel that I'm going to be good at it, I'm going to try.
Yep.
Yeah, that like, right, like that nailed it.
But what's so great about this is once I see somebody's name, especially for somebody who's naturally an introvert, once I see somebody's name, I know where to start. I know how to start talking. I know how to communicate. I know how to connect. It's like I don't meet strangers anymore. You also know who's safe and who's not safe. Theft shows up in a name. Psychopaths show up in a name. Liars show up in a name. I mean, all of that shows up in a name. So you know who that you can be polite to and kind to, but you want to not have become in your world. That
it's all
right
something
there.
Else. We don't have time to go into it right now, but I'd like to make a note of this to come back after Jennifer shares when we all come back together. When you were talking about the C, one of the things I picked up on was there's a more positive aspect to it and possibly a more dangerous or negative aspect to both.
It's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I would definitely like to come back to after the fact if we have time.
Okay, well, just like the ST combination, to show you really well the two sides of the coin, the ST stands for stubbornness, which means you can get in your own way, but it also stands for persistence. Those are people that don't give up. So you see a lot of doctors, lawyers, whatever, have that ST because they had the persistence to get through all that extended schooling. Okay, but they can be so stubborn that they get in their own way and they can't hear another person's point of view. So it's two sides of the same coin. Which one do you want to play? Every letter, every combination, every placement of the letters has both sides.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Sharon. It's amazing. The dedication and what you've discovered is just, it's remarkable. Just thank you. And it's inspiring. Your story and just your brilliance is and your warmth that I just very much appreciate. So just thank you. We're gonna check back with you in just a little bit. But thank you again so much for being.
And thank you for saying I'm brilliant, because it's not in my name. And if you knew the rest of the family, you'd say, not so much.
Thank you, Sharón. I really appreciate you being here. So I want to say thank you again to Sharón and all of you for viewing us, being here with us. I want to take a moment real quick to just invite you, share on the stage. Why we're here is for you to share your gift. You have a unique story that enriches all of us. What you've been through, what you've overcome is something that lifts us all up. It gives us all courage to take the next step in the thing that we're afraid to face in our life. And this is a space for you to share whether it's a story, a poem, a song, a dance, a piece of wisdom. This is your space to share. So I invite you to go to the link at the bottom of the screen and share your gift with us. And this is our one-day mission. It's bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. So now let me welcome our second guest. We have with us Jennifer Urezzio. Is that how you say your last name? Urezzio?
Perfect. Did a great job. Thank you. I don't have any attachment to it, so I'm cool.
It's so wonderful to have you.
Thank you. I hope I don't have dog slobber, because I just got a major kiss from the dog. So it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much. And I am a rebel. My group on Facebook is called Spiritual Renegades. So right on. I knew that there was something bigger inside of me. I knew that there was some sort of bigness in life, but I couldn't really totally access it, but I knew it was in. So I asked a lot of big questions. Why was I here? Where are my people? Because I was really mad. I was really angry. I was in marketing and PR, and I couldn't talk to clients because I would tell them the truth. And when you ask big questions, you get big answers. And the big answer I got was something called soul language, which puts tangibility and words, human words, to what you know deep inside, so you can create this conscious connection with your soul, so you can receive clarity, you can understand your next steps, you can let go of those limiting beliefs. You can also know that you're never alone and tap into that divinity of your own soul. So I want to give everyone an experience today, because I think it's really important for you to walk away with some knowledge and some understanding of who you are. And I do this exercise with everyone called understanding the baseline of your soul. And I might use words that you don't understand. That's okay. You just get on the bus with me and let's see what happens. So I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to focus on your tailbone or on your feet on the floor. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to tune into your heart and tune into your soul, and have your soul vividly and clearly answer this question. I want your soul to show you what the baseline of your soul is. Again, what's the baseline of your soul? And that's something you can always turn to. That's that seed of knowing, that part of you that's never been heard, that never will be heard. And I think so often, in transition, we need those anchors to understand and receive clear guidance. And understanding your soul languages and having the human words to what you know deep down inside is an amazing process to do that. So I can give everyone a one-liner for their soul. So my one-liner for my soul is I create balance for myself and others through love, integrity, and courage. And if I'm not being and doing that, I'm going to feel like I'm not having a purpose in the world. I'm going to feel like I'm suffering. And so I get to keep getting closer to that and knowing that I'm whole and complete. So I make every decision based on this, and you guys can try this too. Is this decision going to bring me closer to my own divinity experiencing it, or is it going to bring me farther away? And that has changed and transformed my life in huge quantities. So I used to be really angry. I used to feel really alone. I used to feel not enough. Now I have a huge community. I feel stable. And there was a great experience a couple of weeks ago where my power went out and I had a full day of interviews and sessions. And 10 years ago, I would have been nuts. I would have been trying to make war with it, calling the company every 5 minutes. And I just settled in and went about my day doing the sessions in my car. And that comes from a vast knowing of who you are inside and knowing and having this deep acceptance of who you are and understanding your gifts and talents and utilizing your own divinity consciously. So I'm going to give you another fun tip. So you can tell if you're utilizing your energy consciously by paying the penny game. So you get 100 pennies. And if during the day you're focusing on the past, put a penny in the past cup. And if you're focusing on the future, put a penny in the future cup. At the end of the day, see how many pennies that you have. And that's how much energy using of your soul, the essential nature that you're using to create your life. So if you have less than 10 pennies, that tells you where you get to start to recreate, realign, let go of some of those limiting patterns. If you have a lot in the past cup, you're living life from lack. And if you have a lot in the future cup, you are living also in lack. But what you're doing is you're creating based on lack. So you keep getting the same thing time and time again. There are 3 categories of soul language. So each one of us has 3 languages, one in each category. Your mission, how you feel that mission, and then your soulful personality. So just imagine for a moment that you could have some written definitions of who you are on the inside, so deep, so profound that it clicks. And people have had their soul languages done that's been on the path for ages or just starting. And what that allows people to do is really to fine line their consciousness. It allows them to understand where they're operating from pain and pattern and tune into their soul and ask a question or activate something or let something go to move into a deeper sense of consciousness. When we understand that we are whole and complete and we put that into everything we do, it creates a life based on wholeness and completeness, abundance and wealth. But what it also does for the planet is it adds that into the energy field and the planet begins to hum and things begin to change. Remember, I know most of my community is not going to believe this, but I was angry. I felt alone. I felt not enough. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to be in life. Earlier, Matthew was talking about, not having a job, right? And what that would be like. I think that people that don't know or don't feel like they're on purpose, I want you to focus on what you're being instead of what you're doing. Purpose is not about doing. It's about what you are essentially here to experience and then offer that experience to others. And when you understand that soul language, even that one just alone, you can create a whole new life that resonates with you, mind, body, and spirit. It also allows you to really have more profound relationships. Because guess what, everyone? Relationships are internal, meaning they're all about you and what you're putting into that relationship. So the biggest relationship you have, of course, is with yourself and whatever you call divinity. And if you're suffering with wealth problems or self-esteem problems, it's really about you and your own divinity to rearrange those and reconnect those. You don't have to be highly intuitive to utilize or connect to your soul, but it also helps you to understand that intuitive muscle and to grow that. So there's 107 core energies of soul across the 3 different categories. And if you're like me and a spiritual renegade, someone who's not going to do it like anyone else does it, and you're feeling a little off center, or you want to really be able to speak and receive from your big mission and big service. Soul language is a tool that is endless of possibilities. I never get tired of talking to my soul, and there's always more to know. I think so often we have this big confusion about the dark night of the soul. So I'm going to say it. Please, everyone, listen. There's no such thing as the dark night of the soul. The soul is whole and complete. What's happening is the human and the soul are not connecting. Connection is everything. So soul language is a paradigm that helps you easily connect, to give your humanness those words, so your humanness can get on board with the spirit, so the mind can follow the heart. And that's the last exercise I'm going to do for everyone today. So just take a deep breath, focus on your tailbone, and let's see what happens in your system. Let's see where you're out of alignment with your mind and heart. So here goes. Divine intelligence, create a conscious connection between my mind and my heart. Allow my mind to follow my heart. And then you could just tune in and ask the most simple and profound question. What do I need to know today? Your soul has all the answers. Sometimes you just need a kickstart to help understand how your soul is speaking to you. But guess what? It's been speaking to you since you popped out of the womb. The key here is to hear your soul through a lot less layers. And what I mean by that is to hear it through a lot less programming, pain, and limiting beliefs. So again, my name's Jennifer Urezzio. You can find me at soullanguage.us. And if anything I said resonated with you today, there's a lot of groovy free stuff on the site. And feel free to contact me. I answer my own email and I pick up my own phone. So thanks everyone for listening, and back to you guys.
Wow. That was it was so dense. There's so much in that. Thank you, Jennifer. That's amazing.
You're welcome. You're
I
welcome.
love that. I love the dark night of the soul. It's more like, it's so true. It's more like a dark night of the mind, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. And here's the thing. I think that that's one of my missions, because I think so many people kind of berate their soul, right? It's not the soul. It's our humanness that needs to get realigned. And when you have that perspective, you have a deeper sense of acceptance. The whole thing is that your soul always has the best intentions. It always knows what step to take. It's never going to be mean to you. I think a lot of people are afraid to talk to their soul because they think they're going to hear you suck. Never going to happen, right? But when we really allow that human to be held by the soul, right, there's a deeper sense of safety. There's a deeper sense of completeness. And that's what it's here to do, right? We're here to meld both of them. And I think ego gets a bad rap too. Okay. Without ego, everyone, you wouldn't get off your couch, right? It's actually allowing the ego to be led by the soul and not ego on crack, which is pattern and pain.
Yeah. That's so profound. I love how you put that. It's what it's pointing me to is it's the identity. Just with the whole, I love the pennies thing, but it's like it's identity, and it's that whole dark night of the soul or dark night of the mind. Like what I see it as is like when we are focusing or seeing ourself as the tool, as opposed to us being the soul and the heart being the guiding force of our brain. It's like our brain doesn't have to be a hindrance. It can actually be something that empowers. We all have our intellect, and our brain we can discover, like Sharón, we can discover new science when we use our brain. But when it's operated from our heart, and when we identify with ourselves, I love that. It's very beautiful.
Thank you. And it's something you can do at any time. Anytime you feel off kilter, you just tune in and go, okay, mind, follow my heart, and watch everything click back into place, and then make decisions from there, right? So making decisions from a soul-based place. I mean, how many decisions have we made based on the mind, and how well did they work out? Never, right? Never. And I think so often people don't trust that soul because they think that they've done it, right? They think that they've acted on that, and they've acted on programming, and they forget about free will, right? So I think a lot of highly intuitive people go, but wait, I saw everything. Yeah, but the world has free will. So everyone else is making decisions. So when you understand and you have that understanding of your essential nature, you always know that you're whole and complete and safe. And that creates tremendous freedom in your life, because I'm all about freedom, right? So when you know that you are enough, you're making decisions based on that. And that allows you to go, oh, no, I don't need to take this weird client because I know I'm whole and complete, and I'm not making them the source. They're just a resource, and another resource will come along.
Wow. Love it.
Thank you.
There were several things that stood out as you were talking. What you just said about operating from that soul base, like letting the soul make your decisions. There was an exercise I did a couple of years ago that really illustrated a lot for me. And that was whenever I went shopping, I would tune in, and every single thing I purchased, I got a yes or a no, like directly from intuition, from soul, like however you want to put it. It didn't matter. Like, so I, at the time, and I still kind of play like this. Like, I didn't have much money, and so like I would often be buying things where my mind is screaming at me, "If you buy this, you're not gonna have money to eat tomorrow. Like you're not gonna have money to eat." But yet I get a heartfelt yes to buying it. I get a soul yes to buying it, and so I just trusted that, and or maybe in that moment not so much trusted as just like
Acted on it.
I'm committed to it, whether I like it or not, right? And it illustrated how much of my decision making process is based on fear.
Yeah. So I was watching this Netflix show. I always get like God speaks to me through the TV. And so one of the lines was, fear takes away the magic. Fear makes magic go erratic. And it's true. Like when you're operating from fear, all of that essential nature it goes ricochets because it's not at the same vibration. And also, when you're in fear, whatever you call God, universe, tree, Bob, cupcake, doesn't matter, could come sit down next to you and go, "Hey, Jen, how you doing?" And you'd be like, you wouldn't be able to see it, right? So it's not that fear is not going to come up, and don't try to eradicate fear. Okay, that's too hard. But really notice and go, oh, let's tune back. Let's fill ourselves with safety. So anyone can use their body's lack of free will to fill them with safety. So it's just like divine intelligence. Fill me with the feeling and knowing that I'm safe. And you'll go, and from there, you're more connected, right? So it's really about going to see. I always give the clients the train metaphor. Okay. Do you want to get on the train to Life Challenge? I've got condos there. That's okay. Or do you want to pause and go to Life Purpose, which is operating from consciousness? No judgment, right? You just get to kind of play the game and allow that to happen. And remember, you're human. So don't try to go from fear to something as big as love. That's a lot of levels of consciousness, right? You can't make that leap. So you always want to try to go from fear to neutrality. And how you get into the consciousness of neutrality is to step into trust. Because from there, everything opens.
Yeah, that exercise, like that, I feel like the last maybe even 10 years of my life have been all about just learning to trust.
Beautiful.
Like letting go of the fear, learning to trust. And like you said, it's not like the fear doesn't come up. Like every time I step into some drastic change, I'm terrified every single time. But I have learned through experience that when I trust my heart, when I trust my soul and follow that first, I always have what I need every single time.
You're guaranteed.
Like those moments.
Right.
It's like it comes part and parcel with this body. Like food, clothing, and shelter, as long as I'm in alignment, that's always there.
Right. So now, and you're doing this already, but now you can move from surviving to thriving, right? Which is all my needs are already met. What do I want to play with now?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this is happening. Like this is part of this.
Okay. Yay!
That's beautiful. I think this is probably a good time to bring Sharón back into the mix with us. Well, welcome back, Sharón. But what you were just saying,
Thank you.
I mean, I'm seeing dots connecting, but it's like it's like trusting the present moment. It's accepting whatever's in our current reality, our current space, is the opportunity to learn the lessons that we're supposed to. And it's like, and it's like there's so many times that it's like we resist. I mean, just on the note of fear and like transcending fear. It's interesting how you brought it like the neutrality, but I want to give you both an opportunity to share what you heard in each other's shares. But I just want to put out there, just I'm seeing this connection between really discovering our truth, and how we can come to experience our true self and share that with ourself, but also with the collective.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're obviously hugely psychic, right? So that hearing and that knowing allowed you to create a whole paradigm that you're then sharing with others in an easy way that helps them get over major hurdles, right? Like, it's really kind of cool. So what I see is, oh, hugely intuitive, hugely connected. Oh, let's put it in a form where others can understand it, right? You'd be hearing all of that guidance, whether you had a name or not. You just ask the question and now it pops in your head, right? So I think that's what's really cool. It's about really tapping into that inner knowing. And when you do, it not only helps you, but once you're full, it overflows to others to help them, in areas or hurdle, jump the path in certain things so they don't have to suffer the same ropes that you do.
See, and what I heard was Jennifer was totally reframing what we have come to accept as metaphysical. My friend always says that word wrong, so now I'm hearing her in my ear. She calls them like metapopsicles or something. Anyway, but reframing the common of what's being taught, but reframing it into a new perspective. So like, I love it when you said like, there is no such thing as a dark night of a soul, because I look at that and I think when we don't trust spirit, it's not that we really don't trust spirit. It's because spirit's always there and they're always there for us. It's we don't trust ourselves to do it correctly with spirit, And so I loved that, how often you were reframing things, Jennifer, and showing that you have a thorough understanding of the real spiritual principles, or you wouldn't be able to reframe things.
Yeah, and that's basically from tuning in. Like, it's strange to me in a good way that I'll have this concept or thought and then I'll say it, and sometimes people go, oh yeah, that principle, and I'm like, oh, I didn't read that. I don't like it, just pops in my head. I just know it, right? And so it allows the knowing that we are all connected. And I always, say that Divine Universe Tree Bob Cupcake is always sending out these messages, right? So people hear them and then reinterpret them so others can hear them as well, right? The perfect example of that is the movie camera, right? Motion pictures were created at the same time all over the world by 3 or 4 different people, nobody communicating about it, right? So
same with calculus, by the way. It was created in 3 different places around the world simultaneously.
Same, right? So that just brings it all, like, we're all connected. And if we just learn to hear that inner wisdom and understand our own database, right, then we'd be a lot less in pain and willing to inflict pain on others.
So sometimes, like, and you have it in your name also, Jennifer, like I said earlier, you're just brilliant, but that you get to download things. And when somebody asks you a question, the answer just shows up, right? And not everybody feels like they have that intuitive, or that's their skill, or that's their way of operating. And so I think it's always very handy when they know somebody who can operate that way, because sometimes it's hard not to go into what I call a temporary moment of fear or panic, where you hear something or you read something online, or especially in this time in our political situation, where you just have a momentary, let me hold my breath and hope this goes away, or something happens different or whatever. And at that time, it's really nice to be able to reach out to somebody who has those instant communications or those answers, or is at peace with themselves so that they don't get triggered by outside events.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and this actually kind of comes back to what I was talking about in the beginning, which is the uniqueness of each of your paths and how they both seem to converge in the same place. Something I've really appreciated over the last few years is watching science and spirituality and religion all kind of coalesce.
Yeah.
And there's still some debates and some problems and things, but like they're working it out. But like more and more and more, I see the realization dawn on people that everyone is asking the same questions. They're just coming at it from different angles and having different experiences from which they have unique lessons that come to home.
I've been asking master healers at the end of my podcast for the last 6 months. So what's the big question that you've been asking lately of yourself and the universe? And almost everyone has answered the same way. How can I be of service more? Right? So that's telling you something right there, right? We're moving into a new way of being where it's about service rather than about what you can get.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, kind of to everybody's point, but to also what Matthew was saying, is like I'm seeing the convergence of the spiritual and the science conversations as a reframing with for ourselves in society of what is the point. And I feel this is kind of COVID for me. What I've seen is very much forced everyone to look in the mirror. And a lot of people have used that to like really see what's important, really look and see themselves and something bigger than themselves. Others look in the mirror and run away because they don't like what they see. Others are it just brush the surface of them exploring and discovering themselves. But it's just, I see the conversation of how we frame, like what you're just saying. Every person you've asked on your podcast has said, like, how can I be more of service? And I feel like no matter which way you approach, truth or how to be in this world, I feel like you're going to come to that same result. And I mean, whether you're an astrophysicist or you're a microbiologist, you're zooming in, or you're to the smallest things in existence, or to the farthest out things in reality, they're all parts of the same coin looking to the same thing and just coming from a different perspective. And that's why this stage in particular has been amazing, because it's just what it seems like, maybe fate, circumstance, whatever happens, whatever you want to call it, just like the fact that Sharón happened to be a math major and got her master's in math and happened to be a teacher, just the exact combination of what your experiences led you to discover. And I just feel like that's what's so beautiful. It's just like this tapestry of culture and perspective and scientific thought and spiritual thought. I just see it that's what excites me. Just like, what's going to happen when we actually gain the wisdom that we all already know, we've just forgotten.
Bliss.
Yeah. Well, and how you were saying earlier that we're here for lessons and that we're learning. And I think I want to do what a Jennifer on this. I want to look at it from a different perspective. And that is, I think our soul already has the knowledge. Like, our soul knows that E = MC squared. But our soul may not know when is the best time to apply that. When do you tweak it? When is there a better formula? I think we're here for the experiences so that we better comprehend the knowledge that we already hold.
Yeah. And I never call it a life lesson. I call it a skill builder.
I like that.
I love both of that. Yeah, absolutely. Hi.
So I really.
That's good.
Oh, go ahead, Matthew. Sorry.
I was just saying, I know we have a hard stop at 5, so I'm kind of wondering where we're at.
Well, I know I said a hard stop, but I want to at least give everybody an opportunity to kind of give last thoughts, because this was such a powerful conversation for me, and I really honor and just respect, and it's such a privilege to have you both share. And I feel like we could talk for hours, but I want to give everybody a moment. Would you please share if there's any last thoughts you had to kind of complete the hour?
I just want everyone to remember that they're whole and complete and act from that place.
I just want everyone to realize that your soul already knows you're here for the experiences. So trust yourself when you're making your own determinations of what you want to do and your own decisions.
Because there are no wrong answers or wrong choices.
They're just experiences.
Exactly.
Well, there you have it. I feel like 4 different, life experiences coming to the same understanding, and this is what's so beautiful is like we all have the dark night of our mind and the bright day of our soul, and I think it's, again, like that's why we do this, is just to share the wisdom and insight that everyone is searching for. How, with this ever expanding universe, how do we be to not only not suffer, but to create a world that is beyond our wildest dreams, of like where the level, the amount and the intensity of joy and laughter and possibility is beyond what we even know to be possible, what we see now. And that's really that's where we're here. That's where we're holding the space for. So thank you both so much. I really it's been such an honor to have you. I really would love to have you both come back soon and share with us some more, all of your insights and wisdom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you again. And thank you all at home for being with us and joining us. Again, I want to take a quick moment to just invite you. This is an open invitation to be a part of this virtual stage. We are here to share the gift that you are, really the unique insight and circumstances that only you have experienced. We can't get it except if you choose to share it. And this is why this space is, we hold this space sacred for you to share your experience and your life and your journey of what you've discovered and what's in your way, what's been in your way, and how did you overcome that. So just thank you again for being with us. This vision of one day is ultimately why we're here. And what this vision is humanity rising in a connected world with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. Thank you all again for being here. I love you all. Be safe, be well. We will see you next week. As always, one day is today.